So I'm an ER nurse at a hospital in North Florida, and how I'm feeling kind of depends a little bit right now on whether I'm home or I'm at work. I work overnight, and I was at work Saturday night into Sunday morning, so I'm like a day and a half missing some time off, decompress a little bit. My son's 5, and I need to start homeschooling him today. Um, and we're kind of trading off who has our daughter who's almost 1.5, like in parallel to what we're trying to do. And that's chaotic, but it's enriching and it's a little bit life giving. Social distancing has given us some perspective on just how much we lose when we devote so much of our lives to our careers. I feel, as far as my home life is concerned, a sense of appreciation, and I feel close to the people I love, which is a great source of comfort because at work I feel tense. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
coming to work and there's a few more patients who are in, airborne negative pressure isolation rooms where we have to use a dwindling supply of protective gear to treat them.
Yeah.
And we are not an overwhelmed hospital. We're not New York City right now.
Right.
Um, but you can kind of see the trajectory that our hospital might be on. And there's just a lot of determined people at work that see a freight train coming and we're getting ready to stand in front of it. So,
It must be hard to have two small children and a wife, and then it must be a hard balance.
um, my home life and my work life are very integrated in a way because as an ER nurse, I view the public health as a very deeply personal responsibility that I bring home with me. The things we are doing at home are not just things imposed on us. Our family, because of me, views them as a choice we are actively making for people we love
Yeah.
out there. So even though there's some beautiful moments at home, we're worried about other people. We're worried about doing this right. We're worried about enough people in the community doing this right to slow the daily infection rates so that hospital resources are able to contain the virus and save lives.
Yeah.
It's a very real and close thing to my family. I suppose I'm worried about my son who has amazing gifts and talents, but who also has a moderate to severe language delay. I'm worried about
Yeah.
my capability to homeschool somebody with a special need when that's not my specialty. His
Hmm.
teacher was very specialized in how to educate him. I suppose there are some deeper fears involved with this pandemic, um, because as the supply of protective gear dwindles, and I believe my hospital will probably be out within days at this point of some of
Yeah.
the crucial pieces we need to keep ourselves safe in these isolation rooms. Um, there is a fear that I will bring it home.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps me up at night, really, Andrew, is that you can be asymptomatic, showing no symptoms, having this virus for one day up to
Yeah.
2 weeks, and the average is just over 5 days. So my nightmare scenario is that I acquire this virus while treating a patient, and I don't know it, and I'm walking into other rooms in the ER of immune compromised people, because these are the people who end up in the ER: people who have sickle cell, people who
Yeah.
have diabetes, people who have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, who are receiving chemo treatments, um, people who are neutropenic
Yeah.
and are coming to the ER because of complications of those issues. And I walk into the room after I've doffed my protective gear, but I have it, I infect them, and they die
Right.
because
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's something that keeps me up at night.
And
Um,
are you able to get tested? I mean, have you been tested? I mean,
I haven't, and I don't think um, I will be able to unless I show symptoms.
yeah.
So without placing blame on anybody, I will say that my perspective is that there are not nearly enough test kits, vials with reagents in them available to test everybody. When there are enough tests, there are things, when they say test kit, it doesn't include everything you need, like swabs to collect samples with
Right.
from people's, noses, lab capacity in a state with both staff and reagents available to run these labs. Currently, in Florida, it's taking us 5 to 6 days to get a result on somebody.
Wow.
As of a few days ago, there were only 3 labs in the state even running the test. So what we're telling people typically is that if they look and appear well, and they have a cough, you know, we're not going to just test that person for COVID-19. We're going to say, go home. And if your symptoms are such that you can't breathe or you're so sick you can't get out of bed, come to the ER
Wow.
or get a physician's order. That's another thing. We're not testing people unless they have a physician's order. Get your physician's order for a test and we will do it. But at some point, you're going to hit this threshold where if the testing capability doesn't increase,
Even at best case scenarios, it's still over a week, from when you actually got it to when you showed symptoms to when it's just a lot of time. That's a lot of time, and it sounds like there's not enough tests really to adequately monitor it.
and we don't want to create a bigger backlog and increase the amount of time it takes to get results anyway. Because when we do have somebody we're really worried about, we want to be able to get tests on them, get them quickly. Again, I don't want to paint my clinical picture as one of a hospital that is overrun. That's not where I live, but it is increasing, and we are preparing, um, and we have colleagues around the world that are truly suffering and fighting and dying
Wow.
to halt the spread of this disease. We have colleagues walking in New York City. We have colleagues that are walking into patient rooms with surgical masks instead of their N95 respirators because what else can they do? These people need care or they will die.
Right.
Right? There's a lot of self-sacrifice going on in healthcare right now that is frustratingly unnecessary from our viewpoint. It's true that the most at-risk people are those who are older and with underlying health conditions. But the very first patient to die in my county was 48 years old.
Jeez.
So being young does not mean you cannot get viral pneumonia so severe that you end up tubed in the ICU. I guess my nightmare scenario is if I get sick caring for these patients because next week I have to start going into rooms in a surgical mask and it takes me out. I have a daughter who's 1.5, and if that happens, she won't remember me. It's Those are the stakes here.
Yeah.
Those are the stakes for the global community. I think that having a purpose, having something that I can do, actively do, and leave the house and fight for, helps me face those fears probably a little bit better than somebody who just gets to sit at home and read about the horror on Facebook and worry.
And the work that you're doing is in the work of everyone is just so important, and it's so sad to me that you're going into the fray with the knowledge that the supplies are running out behind you is incredibly frustrating. I mean, for me, someone who's not you and not firsthand dealing with it, it's just incredibly frustrating. And do you think that there'd be any changes long term?
I hope that everyone acquires a greater appreciation for what it means to live in a community, having been distanced from it for so long. I hope we walk away from this with a greater appreciation of our friends and neighbors. Um, I hope that I keep a sense of appreciation for how resilient my family is and how much we can accomplish, that we all become a little bit more self-reliant. Um, those can be some positive changes. Um, I don't know what the long-term negative consequences are going to be, other than people are going to die, and that's going to ripple through the nation. I'm concerned that we'll get to a point where nobody is untouched. Nobody doesn't know of someone who died, or know somebody who died, or know somebody whose parent has gone. Um, that's the sort of thing I haven't experienced since I was a high schooler on 9/11, where it's just kind of a show stopping. Everybody has this thing in common, which is, where were you when that happened? It's going to be kind of like that.
Do you have any parting wisdom? Anything that you wish people knew?
So I want people to know that all over the world, there are doctors, respiratory therapists, nurses, paramedics, technicians, radiology techs, who are risking their lives, and they're risking the lives of anyone in their family who is more susceptible to this disease so that your family doesn't suffer. Please, please take some pride in staying home. Take some pride in actively social distancing. Take some pride in turning down the irresponsible party invitation.
Right.
And know that it's the one thing you can do for me other than get really, really angry and demand the production of the protective gear that we need to keep you safe.
Well, thank you so much, Jem, for talking with us. I hope we can stay in touch, even if it's just you texting me that you're okay, because you're definitely going to be in my thoughts every day. And thank you for everything you've done and you continue to do.
Thank you very much. We'll absolutely stay in touch, and thank you for talking to me. And stay safe out there.